The supreme is like water, which nourishes all things without trying to. It flows to low places, loathed by all men. Therefore, it is like the Tao. One who lives in accordance with nature does not go against the way of things. He moves in harmony with the present moment, always knowing the truth of just what to do. The Tao and water are synonymous according to the teachings of Lao-tzu. You are water, and water is you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. It is Tuesday, and you know what that means. Time to continue, or another lesson from Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, Living the Wisdom of the Tao from Dr. Wayne W. Dyer, continuing our discovery of the lost wisdom of the ages and the wisdom of the Tao Te Ching that comes to us from 2,500 years ago. And today we will be taking a look at the 8th verse of the Tao Te Ching, entitled by Dr. Wayne Dyer, Living in the Flow. Now, let me get control of the kitten, and we will get underway, ladies and gentlemen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me and being here. This should be a good one. Let's see what we can learn from the wisdom of Dr. Wayne W. Dyer and from Lao-tzu from 2,500 years ago. But you are water, and water is you. Think about the first 9 months of your life after conception. You lived in and were nourished by amniotic fluid, which is truly unconditional love, flowing as you. You are now 75% water, and your brain is 85%, and the rest is simply muscled water. This is the words of Dr. Wayne Dyer. He says, think about the mysterious and magical nature of this liquid energy that we take for granted. You try to squeeze it, and it eludes us. Relax our hands into it, and we experience it readily. Now, this was something I was talking about last week, trying to describe connecting with God or the nature of God, and using this metaphor of water and how you try to grasp it and get a hold of it, and it goes right through your fingers. But if you let go and begin to flow with it, which is what today will be all about, going with the flow or living in the flow. All right. The 8th verse of the Tao Te Ching, ladies and gentlemen, goes like this. The supreme good is like water, which nourishes all things without trying to. It flows to low places, loathed by all men. Therefore, it is like the Tao. Live in accordance with the nature of things. In dwelling, be close to the land. In meditation, go deep in the heart. In dealing with others, be gentle and kind. Stand by your word. Govern with equity. Be timely in choosing the right moment. One who lives in accordance with nature does not go against the way of things. He moves in harmony with the present moment, always knowing the truth of just what to do, ladies and gentlemen. And that is the 8th verse of the Tao Te Ching. And now we will continue with some of my thoughts and what Dr. Wayne Dyer has to say about this 8th verse of the Tao Te Ching and about this idea of living in the flow and how we can begin to apply this wisdom from centuries ago into our lives today. Once again, reading from Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, Living the Wisdom of the Tao for purposes of teaching and commentary and expanding the mind. So through that increased awareness, we can increase, hopefully, the quality of not only our lives, but the lives of those around us. Because remember, ladies and gentlemen, our lives are made up of moments. And so if we can create the ability within ourselves to increase the quality of our moments, then in turn, we will increase the quality of our lives. And doesn't everybody need a little bit more quality of life? I think so. Now, with that being said, continuing from where we left off there, try to squeeze it and it eludes us, but relax our hands into it and we experience it readily. Talking about water and this mysterious, magical nature. If it stays stationary, it will become stagnant. If it is allowed to flow, huge metaphor here, from nature and water to us to think about in life. If it stays stationary, it becomes stagnant. So, like, this is what I'm thinking of. How many times do you leave things in one spot for a very long time? Many things. And then there's dust that builds up and clutter. And, obviously, that's something that I could take some advice on. And using water as the metaphor, the metaphorical example here, if it stays stationary, it becomes stagnant. But if it is allowed to flow, it will stay pure. It does not seek the high spots to be above it all, but settles for the lowest places. It gathers into rivers, lakes, and streams and courses to the sea, and then evaporates to fall again as rain. It maps out nothing, and it plays no favorites. It has no plans to irrigate the fields, to slake our thirst, or to provide the opportunity to swim, sail, ski, and scuba dive. These are all just some of the benefits that come naturally from water simply doing what it does and being what it is. Now, remember, we always talk about not doing and being, and how we are not doing anything and we are actually being done, as we are a part of grand organized design, God, the Tao, grand spirit, great spirit, the force, universal intelligence, whatever you want to call it, ladies and gentlemen. We are connected to that, and we need to begin to align and harmonize with this force, and we will begin to experience a whole much more harmonious life, more of a flowing with reality and nature, a going with the flow, so to speak, or living in the flow. How can we do this? Well, Dr. Wayne Dyer continues here and says, the Tao asks you to clearly see the parallels between you and this naturally flowing substance, water, that allows life to sustain itself, and begin to see the metaphors and how that could be a lesson to us. Live as water lives. Since we are a majority percentage water, become as contented as is the fluid that animates and supports us. Let our thoughts and behaviors move smoothly in accordance with the nature of all things. It is natural for you to be gentle, ladies and gentlemen, to allow others to be free to go where they're inclined to go and to be as they need to be without any interference from us. It is natural to trust in the eternal flow. Be true to your inner inclinations and stick to your word. It is natural to treat everyone as an equal. All of these lessons can be derived by observing how water, which sustains all life, behaves. It simply moves, and the benefits it provides occur from it being what it simply is. Not trying to be something else, not trying to get above and go beyond, but simply being in harmony. All those lessons that we just learned from nature there. To be gentle, to allow others to be free, to not interfere, to trust your own inner inclinations. And by doing this, we may accidentally provide a benefit just by simply being in harmony, by simply going with the flow. Or another way to think of it is being harmonious with nature, what is natural, rather than going against that and living from the ego. I am separate, I am this and everything else is that. And then you end up becoming a bulldozer and wrecking everything, rather than I am connected to everything and there is a harmony that must be created. Once again, you change your thoughts, you begin to have a new perspective. The things that you look at begin to change. Change your thoughts, change your life. Change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And this is how we begin to experience much more peace, bliss, happiness. Simply put, more quality in life. And so all of these lessons, back to what Wayne Dyer is saying here, could be derived by observing how water behaves. It simply moves, and the benefits it provides occur from it being what it is, in harmony with the present moment, and knowing the truth of precisely how to behave. What follows is what Lao-tzu might say to us, based upon his writing of the 8th verse of the Tao Te Ching from 2,500 years ago, ladies and gentlemen. The Tao, or the Great Way, and each one of these concludes with a section entitled Do the Tao Now, which we will get to shortly, and how we can apply this wisdom of going with the flow and living in the flow and this metaphor of water into our lives today. Number one, when you are free to flow as water, you're free to communicate naturally. Information is exchanged and knowledge advances in a way that benefits everyone. What does Wayne Dyer mean? Well, he says, be careful not to assign yourself a place of importance above anyone else. Be receptive to everyone, particularly those who may not routinely receive respect, such as the uneducated, the homeless, or the troubled members of our society. Go to the quote-unquote low places, loathed by all men, as Lao-tzu said in his verse, and have an open mind when you're there. He says, look for the Tao in everyone we encounter, and make a special effort to have acceptance, gentleness, and kindness course through you to others. By not being irritating, you will be received with respect. By making every effort to avoid controlling the lives of others, we will begin to see that we are in a peaceful harmony with the natural order of the Tao. This is the way that we nourish others without trying, as the example gave us earlier. Be like water, which creates opportunities for swimming, fishing, surfing, drinking, wading, sprinkling, floating, and an endless list of benefits by not trying to do anything other than simply flow. Secondly, let your thoughts float freely. Forget about fighting life and trying to be something else. which is what causes so much of the negative experience of life for us, for all the myriad of names and titles and labels you could put on negative experience of life, but simply forget about fighting life or trying to be something else. Rather, allow yourself to be like the material compound that compromises every aspect of your physical being. Sorry, comprises. I was like, wait a minute, compromises? Thank you for being here, ladies and gentlemen. I love and appreciate each and every one of you. Hopefully, and I know you are, because I am, getting value. Hopefully, you are getting value. But the material, we're talking about water once again, that makes up every aspect of our physical being, and the hidden messages in water, which is probably a fantastic book. Masaru Emoto explains that we are water, and water wants to be free. Wow. You and I and every one of us is a majority water. And what does water need? What does water want to do? Well, he puts it, it wants to be free. I would say it wants to flow, it wants to have a flow, and to have a course, to have a path. That makes me think of how so many of us are seeking purpose. What is my, life goal? Or what is my destiny? What am I meant to do? What am I here to be? And maybe in some mystical way or metaphorical way, this is our water nature trying to find our course, the water course way. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know, just connections my mind's making. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this in the comments below, ladies and gentlemen. It's always fascinating. Always enjoy going through your comments. We learn together. Once again, that's what I'm doing here. I'll just be doing this regardless. And so it's much funner to bring somebody else who's interested in the same thing along on this journey so that we can learn together. I'm no master of any of this. And anybody who claims that they are, eh, I'd ask questions and question answers. So, but we are water and water wants to be free. The author has thoroughly explored the ways in which this compound reacts, noting that by respecting and loving it, oh, literally changes its crystallization process. Yes, see, this is the famous Dr. Emoto that did the experiments. If kept in a container, now check this out. If you haven't looked this up and learned this yet as a reality to add to your perspective of the nature of reality and the things that are, then definitely do so because we're almost done. We only got a couple paragraphs and then you can go check out this. If kept in a container, once again, it was Dr. Masaru Emoto. E-M-O, where is it? T-O. If kept in a container with the words love, thank you, or you're beautiful imprinted on it, the water becomes beautiful, frozen formations. Dr. Dyer describes it as beautiful, radiant crystals. Yet if the words on the container are you fool, or, like I will kill you, or destruction, anything that's got like a negative resonance to it. We're talking about frequencies here and how thoughts are things. Remember, the secret of the universe, what you think about, expands. And so the crystals, literally, when they're frozen, the water crystals, they're all broken apart, distorted, and it seems there's no harmony. There's no flow. And this is a very fascinating experiment because it's almost mystical and metaphysical in a sense. And then it leaves you the question, what are the implications of such, you know, such an amazing thing? Well, funny enough, the next two words Dr. Wayne Dyer begins with is the implications of Emoto's work are stupendous. Since consciousness is located within us, and we are essentially water, then if we're out of balance in our emotions, our intentions, our, he called it congruity one, congruity, congruency, something like that. You know what I mean? Being congruent in your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, and your actions. And this will create a harmony. A lot of us are thinking one thing, we're feeling another thing, and we're doing something that doesn't match up with either one of those. And we have this disharmony going on. And so the magical implications of Emoto's work is, since consciousness is located within us, and we've seen how the water is affected by the thoughts and the frequencies of such positive, negative polarities. Remember, we know it's all one, but here in the physical realm, we have to work with these dualities, which is paradoxically just a oneness. However, if we are out of balance, since we are consciousness, as consciousness is connected to our water, and then if our thoughts and emotions and feelings and intentions are out of balance or in a dissonance, not a resonance or a disharmony, it's within the realm of possibility that our intentions can impact the entire planet, quote unquote, and beyond in a destructive way. As our creator, the eternal Tao, might put it, water of life am I, poured forth for thirsty men and women. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Wayne Dyer leaves us with do the Tao now. Something we can do today in our lives to try to at least apply a little of this lesson about going with the flow and living like water in the flow. Do the Tao now. Drink water silently today, while reminding yourself with each sip to nourish others in the same life-flourishing way that streams give to the animals and rain delivers to the plants. Note how many places water is there for us, serving us by simply flowing naturally. And say a thought, a prayer, a meditative statement, a contemplative offering of gratitude for this life-sustaining, always flowing substance. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a boom to the wisdom of the Tao Te Ching and Dr. Wayne W. Dyer. I like that last bit there. It says, note how many places water is there for you, serving us. But the most important part, how is it doing this? By flowing naturally. If we can begin to flow naturally, ladies and gentlemen, not flow and not be natural. I mean, this kind of spiritual philosophy can be taken many ways. It can sometimes be taken the wrong way. But I have always come back to the old lesson of those who have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, or when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And it's not always teachers, and we're not always students. And sometimes it's just a bird on the swaying branch of a tree. But that thing that you read, whether it was from the Tao Te Ching or Hermetic spiritual philosophy, as you can see behind me here. I mean, there's also the mysteries of the unexplained and the wisdom of Dr. David R. Hawkins and much, much more. But I mean, these insights, these aha moments, these satoris, these instant enlightenments will come to us when we least expect it. And that's when we can really begin changing our lives for the better, to experience this new perspective, this new awareness that allows us to have a new experience. And hopefully all of that is for the better. Because, as we've seen, it can be for the not so good as well if we do these processes of, remember, what we think about expands. And now, as we've learned from Dr. Yamoto's work, that our consciousness, thoughts, have a resonating frequency impact on reality, specifically water in this instance. And remember that we are, but our body is made up of a massive percentage majority. I'm not going to say a specific number because everybody, it's like, oh, but it's like if we are mostly water and we have learned that we have this impact through thoughts and fields on the structure of water, maybe we need to begin to have more of a positive impact. But remember, he said, drink water silently today. And what was the other bit? While reminding ourselves with each sip to nourish others in the same way that the streams and the rain delivers to the plants and the animals, and serving us by simply flowing naturally, and begin to think about how we can be in this same way, going with the flow, so to speak. And then we can begin to appreciate it and say a thought of gratitude. Because when you can get there, when you can get to gratitude, you've not only become aware, but you've become non-judgmental. I mean, there's just so many. It's like, the term enlightening sometimes, we're going to wrap it up real quick here, but I'm just rambling for fun because that's what I like to do. The term enlightening sometimes I think could be thought of as like a cerebral thing or like like a learning. But what if it was talking about a weight, a heaviness? And when we can begin to transition to this new awareness, seeing the connection of all things and the oneness, despite the paradoxical duality, if we can begin to do this, maybe we feel like freer and lighter. Maybe we feel enlightened. But at the same time, we have like a brighter outlook and perspective. I don't know. This is all just popping. I've never thought about enlightenment this way, but I was kind of feeling that as I was describing what we were describing there. Anyways, fantastic, ladies and gentlemen. I always love and appreciate each and every one of you who spend time here with me and all the wonderful authors and poets and mystics and philosophers and sages of the ages. We have quite a few playlists on this channel going through different topics and different spiritual philosophy discoveries, ladies and gentlemen, including mysticism. But I love it all. This has been fun, as it always is. So once again, thank you for joining me and being here. Dr. Wayne W. Dyer, Lao-tzu. Change your thoughts, change your life. Living the wisdom of the Tao. Change the way that you look at things, and the things that you look at will begin to change for you. You can expand the description below to get this book for yourself, to put it on your shelf so you can follow along in the future. I haven't even checked my Amazon affiliate account for like months, because in the past I never, I just would have to renew it anyways. But the links always still worked for you to get the book. So like 10 cents isn't a big deal to me. We can all find 10 cents pretty easily. But you actually having a physical copy of this, so when you're just hanging around or whatever, you can be like, maybe I'll pick up some change my thoughts, change my life today. And maybe that moment, that contemplation moment, where it finally sinks in, and then you begin to go in a new direction and experience a new experience, hopefully for the better. Remember, there is no way to happiness, because happiness is the way. So all of us can get it. We just have to begin to create the ability within ourselves to bring happiness to life. And when we can do that, then all the things we've been telling ourselves, oh, when I get this much, or when I have that, and I'll finally be happy, that becomes irrelevant, because then we already are there. And the entire journey is wonderful. Hopefully, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it's a lot, it's not as easy as it is done as it is said. But at the same time, the greatest spiritual teaching would say there is no effort in it at all. Just like we learned today, we need to begin to release and let go and find the harmony and stop trying to control and just flow. Living in the flow. All right. Love and appreciate each and every one of you, ladies and gentlemen. Remember to seek to achieve and maintain happiness through enlightenment, through a greater awareness and understanding of the nature of reality. So through that awareness, we can increase the quality of our lives. Remember to seek to discover the lost wisdom of the ages and the mysteries of our history. Also, a link to my landscape paintings on my Etsy shop, as well as a link to C60 Purple Power, the most powerful antioxidant known to man. Ladies and gentlemen, give yourself the gift of health. All right. Thank you so much. I will catch you tomorrow, continuing our series in the Kabbalion Hermetic philosophy. We're only 2 episodes into that series, so it's going to get good, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Love and appreciate each and every one of you. Remember, be the change you want to see. Be the example you want to set. No, 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 no.